Welcome to today's episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman. My name is Fagbeja, and today I'll be reading Rebecca's story. Take a listen. I have always been a dreamer. I grew up with huge dreams of becoming a diplomat and traveling all over the world. But my life has not turned out to be what I thought it would be. In the eyes of the world, I am rich, I am successful, and I have the dream life of many women, but I cry often for the things I have lost. It may seem ungrateful, but let me explain myself. I come from a comfortable upper middle class background. My dad was a petroleum engineer and worked for Shell. Even though we are Yoruba, we grew up in Port Harcourt because it was my dad's work base. Growing up with my two brothers was a lot of fun. We lived in a private estate where a number of other oil workers lived, so we attended the same schools and everyone knew everyone else. It was quite a friendly and close-knit community. Most of our long vacations were spent outside the country, not just visiting family or friends, but actually going to holiday resorts all over the world. My dad believed that travel was an essential part of education, and he made a point to take his leave around our holiday so we could visit new destinations together. I was a daddy's girl through and through. Like him, I was an extrovert and an adventure seeker, always looking for new experiences. I enjoyed the traveling so much, and at the age of 9, I decided to become an air hostess so I could get the opportunity to travel. My mom was a full-time housewife and was a lot more conservative than my dad in most ways. She and I were so different, and even though I was the only girl, we clashed often, and this hurt me more than anything else. For some reason, I craved my mother's attention a lot. Maybe it was the fact that my dad was often offshore, and when we were alone with my mom, the tension between she and I was palpable. I tried to please her in every way I knew, but somehow it was never enough, and I wanted nothing more than to be in her good graces. My brothers were more reserved than me, especially the one immediately before me, who was a lot like my mom in behavior. My eldest brother was somewhere in between. As I entered my teens, my mom started to tear down my dream of becoming an air hostess by insisting that it was not a decent job. That was when I did some research and decided to build a career in international relations and diplomacy. It just ticked all the boxes for me because apart from travel, I loved languages. I could speak fluent Yoruba. I learnt Igbo from our neighbors and spoke it very well. I took French in school and also spoke it very well. And because of my career choice, I took it all the way to WAEC level. My love for languages was so strong that on one of our trips abroad, I got my dad to buy me CD lessons for Spanish and Chinese. And so I had a basic knowledge of both languages too. I went on to study international relations at OAU Ife, at both first degree and master's levels. I think this was what made my mom realize that I was serious because I opted to study in Nigeria, unlike my brothers who studied abroad, as I felt I would gain more insight for my career from studying within a Nigerian context. By the time I was done with school, I applied to work in the Foreign Affairs Ministry. It was very hard to get in, but with my good grades and language skills, I got strong consideration. But my mom objected to my choice of work. Her reason was that no man would marry a girl who was always traveling about. I needed to be thinking about settling down and starting a family. I tried to push back, but it caused so much tension that she did not talk to me for almost a month. In the end, I gave in and took a job at a bank. I rose quickly on my job, and I got married about 2 years after I started work to a guy I grew up with in the estate. I turned 45 a few days ago, and as I sat down to reflect on my life, I realized how unhappy I am at how things turned out. My husband is a great guy. and we have 2 lovely daughters who are teenagers now. He is an architect with his own practice that is doing very well, and I am at a good place in my banking career. But I feel as if banking stole my life from me. Yes, it has given me money and comfort, but I barely have time for anything else, and I don't find much fulfillment from the job. I never got to show my daughters the world as I grew up to know it. The worst part of all this is that I really can't talk to anyone about it without seeming ungrateful, and that is why I've decided to share my story. It's a bit late to say that I should not have listened to my mom. A part of me died when I gave up on my dream just to satisfy her. It is ironic that at the end of the day, we still do not share the closeness that I craved so much. What advice do you have for Rebecca? Please share in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss another story.